Good morning. I'm going to show you how to do two different lesson ideas with Kimberly. One of them is rote counting, which is currently her IEP goal, and then the other one is one-to-one correspondence. Both of them are math. In front of you, you should have a number 1 and a dot or something small like a block or a tiny teddy bear, like something that she could touch that's small. And then I also have a number 2 and 2 dots. You could go higher as well. This is where I was working with her before everything happened. Additionally, I have a tiny plate of reinforcements. You could also use bubbles. I just didn't have bubbles. But the reinforcements are for you to immediately give her as soon as she complies with whatever you're asking her to do. So first, for rote counting, I'm going to start with a dot. You're going to put the one dot or the one object in front of her that she can touch, and then have the 1, the printed number, near her so that she could also touch. For rote counting, it's all about memorization. It's when a child is able to look at a number or a quantity of dots on like a die face or any quantity in front of them and automatically know like, oh, that's 1 or that's 2. So for 1, she would see it. You would say, Kimberly, how many? And she would be able to touch it. If she didn't automatically touch it on her own, you could take her hand and like kind of like cup it and point to 1 or say 1 finger touch. Sometimes she does do it in class. But like how many, how many, she touches it and you go 1, that's 1. You're supposed to repeat it. We've been told by our coaches that she then would get the auditory cue and be able to get that repetition hearing what the number is. And then have her touch the number 1 so that she starts to associate like this symbol means this number. So Kimberly, how many? 1, that's 1, and then have her touch the number 1. For 2, also for rote counting, I'm gonna move the 1 in front of her. Also, she complied, she did what you wanted, so you give her a piece of popcorn, or you blow bubbles once, you do something that she is reinforced by. You could also use that I'm working for chart that I sent you an email of that has like, I am working for, and then it has a blank picture where you could put a picture of what she wants. So we've had like the Elsa video or bubbles because she was really motivated by both of those. Have that, and then at the bottom, there were 5 spots that you could have pictures of Mickey or any image, just something that she knows that once I hit this many, I get this thing. So it could be whatever you want. You could either even color it in if you wanted, but then you'd have to remake one each time. But yeah, 1, that's 1. Give her a piece of popcorn. You counted, or you touched 1, because it's not counting. It's confusing. For rote counting for 2, also 3 and 4, and as you go up, it would be Kimberly, how many? And then have her put both fingers on both dots. So she's going to be doing this. And then you say 2, that's 2, and then immediately have her touch the number 2. This is so that she knows, again, that these quantity of dots equals this symbol. Then you give her a piece of popcorn or bubbles, whatever she wanted. So there should be, to explain the popcorn versus bubbles in the 5 frame, little reinforcements that are not as motivating, but still convey the message of you did something that you were supposed to do right now. So she might not like popcorn as much, but she likes to eat it, but it's not as reinforcing as watching Elsa on a Frozen video. So after she complies with 2, that's 2, give her a piece of popcorn. But as soon as she does 5 of like finishing the whole lesson, she's been sitting, she didn't throw anything, she didn't try to run. As soon as she sat for that duration of time, and if you've given her all of the little pictures of Mickeys and she's hit 5 Mickeys, and then you can say, you hit 5 Mickeys, you get, and then either like Elsa or Bubbles or something that she really is motivated by, so that she knows when I sit, I get this tiny thing that I might not love, but it keeps me wanting to stay here. But if I sit longer, then I get this bigger thing. So that's rote counting. For one-to-one correspondence, I think this is also a really important skill for our kids to have, especially Kimberly, and we'll work on it in centers as well, is counting, the process of touching each individual thing. The reason why with rote counting that you have her touch both with both fingers at each time, or if there were 3 dots, then you'd like manipulate her fingers so that she could touch all 3, or she'd be doing like this, is so that she knows like this amount of quantity, this quantity of this object equals this symbol of the number 2. For one-to-one correspondence, it's if this is in front of her and you say how many, and then have her individually touch with one finger, 1, 2, and then show her the number 2. That's 2. So to start with the number 1, you'd have the 1 dot in front of her. I might move this down so you can see the table better. You'd have the 1 dot in the number 1. You'd put it both in front of her. There you go, so you can see. Kimberly, how many? And then have her do 1 finger. 1. That's 1. This is 1. And like just keep repeating that this is the number 1. For the number 2, because there's more in front of her, you'd have the dots closer to her so that she could see it. You'd move the 1 and the 1 dot out of her range because you want to have your space as clear as possible so that there's only the one thing that she's focusing on. But Kimberly, how many? 1 finger. 1, 2. That's 2. And then have her touch the number 2. Hopefully that's helpful. Also, if you wanted to do, you give her the popcorn. If you wanted to also incorporate sign language because of that language piece, you could do that as well. I could send you a video of sign, but for the most part, it's 1, 2, 3, stick out your thumb. 4, you tuck your thumb back in. So 3, 4, 5, 6 looks like the number 3, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I can't count higher. Hopefully that's helpful.